He came in every Thursday at 6:37 p.m., right before closing. Same wrinkled shirt, same quiet shuffle. He'd buy the same things too: bread, milk, canned soup, a few bananas. Always short by a few dollars. Always apologetic. "I'm sorry, son, I thought I had more." I'd smile, wave him off, slide my card when no one looked. $3, $5, $7. For 2 years. It wasn't charity, not Willie. It was routine. A quiet exchange between strangers pretending not to need each other. He never knew my name. I never asked his. Then he stopped coming. Week 1, 2, a month, then 3. Gone. The store didn't change. The hum of the freezers, the clatter of carts, the fluorescent hum. But something hollowed out the space where he used to stand. I assumed the worst. You can tell when someone's story ends. It's in the silence they leave behind. 6 months later, a man in a gray suit approached my register. He had his eyes. Same tired kindness buried behind years of something unsaid. "Are you Daniel?" I nodded. "My grandfather passed," he said. "He left you this." He handed me an envelope, a letter, and a check for $500,000. The store went quiet. Even the freezers stopped humming. That was the moment everything began to feel wrong. The handwriting was neat, deliberate, like someone who had practiced every word 1,000 times. He thanked me, said I reminded him of someone, said I had given him something no one else ever did: dignity. And then, near the end, "I'm sorry for what my son did." I read that line 12 times. The words blurred. My stomach turned to ice. What his son did? The man in the suit, his son, had eyes too calm for grief, too rehearsed. I asked nothing. He offered nothing. He just watched me read, waiting for something, a reaction, a crack. I gave him none. He left, leaving me with a letter that felt heavier than the check. I stared at the name on the signature: Arthur Whitman. Whitman, the owner of the grocery chain? My employer. And suddenly I remembered something. A rumor whispered months ago. A scandal buried by money and silence. A child, abandoned, hidden, bought off. I folded the letter and put it in my locker. I didn't cash the check. Not yet. Because that line, "I'm sorry for what my son did," wouldn't stop echoing. I started quietly. Phone records, employment files, company archives. Arthur Whitman had a son, Charles, CEO, polished, respected, the same man who had handed me the envelope. I found an old article, a blurred photo of a young woman holding a baby, unwed mother. Settlement reached, no follow-up, no name. My mother's face flashed in my mind, the tired smile, the empty explanations when I asked about my father. Every detail aligned too easily. Same year, same city. Coincidence or confession? I ordered a DNA test. Quietly. Hair from my mother's brush, a coffee cup Charles had left behind on the counter when he delivered the envelope. I waited. Days stretched into weeks. Work became mechanical. Customers, barcodes, beeps. But my mind ran on a different rhythm. Every transaction felt like counting down to something inevitable. At night, I'd take out the letter, read the same line again. "I'm sorry for what my son did." The words started to feel personal, like a whisper from the grave. I didn't want it to be true, but deep down, I already knew. The results came in on a Thursday. Fitting. I opened the envelope in the break room, the smell of detergent thick in the air. My hands didn't shake. I'd already lost the right to feel surprise. 99.98% match. Charles Whitman, my father. The man who'd handed me $500,000 to erase his guilt. I sat there for a long time, thinking about the years of quiet hunger, my mother's long hours, the way I'd paid strangers' debts, hoping it meant something. Now I understood why Arthur's eyes had softened every time he saw me. He'd recognized me. His son's secret. His own unfinished confession. When I saw Charles again, it wasn't planned. He came to the store to check in on operations. Flawless smile, silver watch, eyes that reflected nothing. I handed him a folded paper. He opened it, read. The color drained from his face. No words, just silence. Finally, he whispered, "Where did you—" When I stepped in, she was standing over my daughter's little pink jar, my puppy. My wife didn't even look up. "I deserve it more," she said, slipping the bills into her purse. That sentence carved something inside me. Not sharp, slow, quiet, like a blade dragged along skin, just enough to open. I didn't say a word. I watched her walk past me, perfume heavy, eyes dry. She looked at me the way people look at furniture, something that's just there. My mother-in-law was on the couch, sipping tea. "She works hard," she murmured. "Let her treat herself." I nodded, the way people nod at eulogies. That night, my daughter cried herself to sleep, one small hand clutching the empty jar. I sat beside her, tracing the glass rim with my thumb. It was cold. That's when the silence inside me broke. Not loud, just final. I didn't make a scene, but something in me started planning. The next morning, she kissed me on the cheek, said, "Don't look so serious," and left in her new shoes. The same shoes my daughter's savings had bought. I watched her drive off, the taillights blinking like a heartbeat. The car turned left, always left, toward downtown where she said her office was. But she hadn't worked in 3 months. Company restructuring, she said. Severance pay. Enough to breathe. I'd believed her, because belief is cheaper than confrontation. That afternoon, my daughter asked, "Dad, can I save again?" Her voice was small, careful, like she was afraid money could hear her. "Of course," I told her, and something inside me whispered, "You will." At dinner, my wife laughed too easily, drank too fast. Her phone never left her hand. She smiled at it more than she smiled at me. I started noticing things. Perfume that wasn't hers. Receipts that didn't match her words. Her mother's silence whenever I walked into the room. They thought I was slow, too kind, too dull to see. But I was just quiet, because quiet people remember everything. I started with her phone bill, numbers, patterns. One name appeared too often, L. I waited until she fell asleep. She slept hard. Guilt has that effect. I opened her phone. No lock. A mistake she would never make again. L wasn't a woman. It was Leonard, her boss. The one she swore had moved to another branch. The messages weren't poetic. They were efficient. Dates, rooms, pictures that weren't supposed to exist. My pulse didn't rise. It sank. I saved everything. Every word, every image. Because truth isn't truth until you can prove it. Then I waited. For 2 weeks I played the part. The quiet husband. The forgiving fool. I packed her lunch. I smiled when she laughed. I kissed her cheek when she came home smelling like someone else. She thought I was blind, but I was memorizing her tells. The way her pupils dilated when she lied. The way she used our daughter's name to soften her guilt. One night, she told her mother she was working late. They shared a look. I watched from the hallway, unnoticed. Her mother said softly, "He'll never find out." That's when I smiled, because she